My name is Liz Denoncour, and I am here to make the cut. I look forward to the next part of my career and hope that my work excites you and brings you the happiness that it brings me. This is my model, Nathan.
All right.
So let's take a look at your inspo pic. What I'm looking at is the tone of the blonde, and in different sections of the head, when we'll be foiling, we're going to be very heavy around the fringe and hairline area. I'll be using thin slices back to back to really make the money piece, as Nathan said. And then when we're working throughout the back, I'll be a little bit more heavy-handed with the lowlights, which today we're going to use 10 volume and half 7NA and half 8GB. In certain sections, I'll be, doing a technique where the highlights and lowlights will be sitting right next to each other, weaving it out so that we really have maximum dimension, as well as in some sections just leaving out the lowlights altogether and having that blonde be a little more pronounced. So with that, I think we can get started. So in the nape area here, I'll be starting the foils here at the hairline, and then we'll be going in diagonal sections this way, and then I'll be doing the same on this side as well. I'll be using thin sections here. On the hairlines, I do weave just for a softer line, and I do actually go the direction towards the head, just so that I can more easily apply the product. And if Nathan wears a ponytail and we pull this up, we'll have a nice bit of lightness here. I always turn my brush at the top to create a softer, more feathered line. So I'm applying the 30 volume to the 6 level regrowth and feathering that down. I feel as though I'm going to decide as I go through here with how warm these ends are, if I will be adding that 10 and gentle to the ends. If we're in a section, because there's a lot of variance in Nathan's hair in those ends, if I get to a section where I feel as though it's light enough, I will refrain from using the 10 and gentle on the ends. But if it's really warm, I will be saturating the ends with the 10 and gentle as well, just to get them to lift a little bit more. So because we're looking for a large concentration of blonde, I am going to be doing a lot of back-to-back slicing, really saturating the product through the hair, making sure that we have even distribution, and again, just turning my brush and feathering up to the root area. There isn't going to be one pattern that we're going to be able to follow throughout our work here, and I do think with the way that color is going, that's really the case with a lot of dimensional color, that foils have now taken on more of a balayage mindset, in that we're not just going to say, through the whole head we'll do 2 slices, a weave, and 1 low light in between. We really have to look and see what the hair needs in those sections to achieve the look that we want. I chose to start with 30 volume because Nathan's hair is dark and we have to lift a certain amount of levels. 20 volume will do it, but I am a faster foiler. You just need to know your speed, what you can get done in respect to the processing time of the product. So in this section here, as we get to the top of the back, I really do want to see a good amount of variance through the hair. So what I'm going to do is weave out one section here and pull it up and away, and we'll clip this out of the way. And then I'm going to go in the hair that's left out and go through and pick up the hair that is in between the weave that I had just done. I'm using several different toners for Nathan's hair. This is a bit of a corrective transformation, we'll say. So in certain sections, where there was the regrowth and we used the 30 volume monoxide, that lifted really, really well. Then we used 10 and Gentle on certain panels that had a lot of warmth, and that lifted as well. But we're gonna have to use several different toners so that we can try and even out our canvas here. One of the colorants that I mixed is clear. Some of Nathan's hair lifted perfectly to the level that we wanted, level and tone, and I'm just going to use clear colorants to seal everything up. The other toner I'll be using is Colorants 10V, and I'll also be using 10 volume and 10P in some of our warmer areas, and go through each section panel by panel and apply the toner as needed for those sections. We have Nathan's regrowth, which lifted really, really well. Through the midshaft and ends, we do have a little bit of warmth still there. So we have to look at this in each section and see what the hair needs and then tone accordingly. So we really can't just put the same formula on through the whole head. But I am gonna start with a root tap. I'm gonna call it a root tap, not a root shadow, because I'm really not dragging it down. Just want to, because this was quite a heavy foil, and we want to just diffuse any kind of little line that might be there where the foil is at the top, and we're just tapping it in instead of pulling it all the way down, which would be a shadow. The formula for my root shadow is Colorants half 6A, half 7NA. I think that looks amazing.
Yeah.
So we're here with Nathan for the cutting portion of our video. And every time I do a haircut, I am using generally the same sections to cut. Because every haircut that I do, I am doing with respect to the shape of the head. Okay. Now, okay, so Nathan is going with a long layered haircut. We are going to be keeping most of the length. And I do section the hair typically the same way with almost every haircut. So we will go ahead and take a section right at the occipital, and we are not taking a lot of length, so we'll just go ahead and skim the ends and then get into the layering of our haircut. I do look at every haircut as a series of shapes that interlock together. Basically, we are cutting straight lines around a spherical object. So if you can get proficient at understanding how shapes and lines work together, then you'll start to see how to create a straight line or a curved line basically in a different way with a deep understanding of head shape and shapes in general. So because we want to do a cascading, really voluminous layer, I'm going to start with creating a guide at the top of the head and really decipher where I want my shortest layer to be. Because I'm taking a little high section to create my guide, what I'll do now is pivot off of that section for the whole back of the head, taking vertical sections through. So we'll go ahead and clip this away and just work on the right side of the head. Here's our guide, there's our length, and what we can do is just go ahead and take off the hair to create long layers of preserving all the length of the hair. And then behind the ear, we'll travel that back to the previous section to preserve length behind the ear. What I'm also paying attention to in the fringe section here is I'm seeing that Nathan's hair jumps up here and doesn't as much on this side. That's why, again, we'll use light tension and take all of that into account so we don't cut someone's bangs too short. And then I'm going to take my subsection off the center part line, coming straight down, and again with minimal tension. I do want to keep, here's my length that I'd like to keep, and then I will very gently just carve out this center area here and come down to the length, because this will be the guide for the rest of the fringe section. So I want to make sure that this is precise and perfect before I bring down any more of my fringe section. So as I brought this section down, I'm seeing that I don't see my guide. That's when I'm going to backtrack and take a smaller section. If you can't see your guide, then the section is too large. So I will now I can see my guide, and I'm going to feather downward, and we can see that we're already kind of creating that shape throughout the hair. As hair cutters, we always leave one side slightly longer than another. You just have to kind of know when you do that and where you do it, and then always kind of check your work. Per rule of thumb, short hair pushes long hair, and that's what we've created here, is a short to long, nice little fringe bang that will go across the face. Pivot around the head with the diagonal sections. I'll then take some diagonal back sections and just check my work, take a look and see if there's anything else that I want to take off here. We've completed our perimeter line. The interior back is finished. Now we're going to use our guide from the top of the head and continue pivoting around the head in vertical pie sections to finish our layering of the haircut. Apply our products first. I'm going to use the Carousel Volumizing Styling Foam in the root area. With mousse, I like to keep it in the palms of my hands and then kind of like use my fingers, because we definitely do want to concentrate this in the root area. After I sprayed the repairing spray, I'm going to use the multi-benefit oil over top. And then I'm going to go ahead and rough dry. Now we have our overall shape and interior cut in, and now it's time for final checking of the haircut and detailing. I love the way that the fringe is laying across the face. I do want to create maybe a little bit more layering from the fringe into the sides here. So I can always do that when it's dry here and really see what the hair is doing. That's just going to soften the gap between the curtain bangs and where the hair angles around the face. And I'm also going to take my whole side quadrant here and extend everything forward now that it's dry, and go ahead and check everything again. With light tension, come down and see if there's anything else that I want to take off. What I am going to do also is bring the back forward and just see if there's anything that will reach that. I'll go ahead and take that off as well. Not any length, but I do just want to lighten up here. So I'm going to finish with the Carousel multi-purpose hairspray. I do love when I'm finished with one of my guests to really move the hair around. This is a workable hairspray, so I can move the hair still as I am putting finishing products on there. So lastly, I will use the Carousel Flyaway Wand. Every one of our clients leaves with one of these. They are perfect to just smooth out any flyaways on the top of the hair. But that is it.